It's hype season for every team before the first game. So what teams out of each Power 5 conference won't live up to the hype? Now, hype means you have to be a part of that conversation. You might play for the championship or something like that, right?
So who won't live up to the hype in the Power 5 conferences?
Let's start with the Pac-12. Would that be USC?
Well, there's only one team getting any hype, really. Yeah. I understand that there's probably others that people expect to be. No, I mean, I think like Utah's getting it. It's only could be one of those two, though. Yeah. I mean, really, because I don't feel like Oregon's getting hype necessarily.
What are they ranked, like 11 or so?
Yeah. I don't even know. I just think they're expected to be typical Oregon, you know, with Dan Lanning. So USC or Utah?
Which of those two is most likely, based on what we know for now, not blow a tire, but not reach?
I mean, I would just say USC because everything's new. Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, their schedule is conducive.
If Lincoln Riley went to Oregon State, I know that's silly, but would they get the hype?
No.
Or they would get some hype, but not to like win the conference out of the gates. I mean, that has to do with USC also having a superior talent level to most schools, even in down periods. So.
All right, let's.
Yeah, I guess USC. I mean, and so what that is what they only win 8 or 9 games as opposed to winning the conference. I guess I'm not in on them being like a playoff team and all that, but I do know that if the Pac-12 is going to throw a couple of slugs at them, but if they're able to maneuver around those, I mean, like just get ready for the playoff hype because that's going to be freaking out of the atmosphere.
Big Ten, Ohio State hype.
Yeah, I think
I believe in them.
Michigan?
Michigan.
I'd say Michigan State.
I agree.
I think that they're a good program. I think that Mel Tucker's got a lot that's going, in their favor. I think that they're going to be, really strong. But I do think that was a whole lot of like just celebration for what wasn't like a Big Ten championship year. I mean, they won some big games and all that, but it wasn't like that they were, 11-1. I don't know. That was a really good year. It was a really good year. But if I had to pick like somebody,
10 and 11-2.
Yeah, they were good. They're very good. But I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like they won the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
They didn't make the playoff.
Yeah, because they're in the division.
But you would think that they did based on just kind of the talk of, the massive extension and all of that. So, I'd say Michigan State.
Yeah, that was a real A&M thing to do, to give your coach a $9 million contract a year and not win a conference.
Speaking of them,
well,
hype,
are you going to answer the question?
I'll say Michigan.
Okay.
Because they were so good last year. I mean, they were really, really good. And so I think that maybe there's a couple of hickeys on that resume that kind of take them down a notch or two. And I'm not saying I want to see that, but all right, SEC. Is it A&M?
A&M. I mean, there's
who else besides Alabama and Georgia and A&M are really getting hype? I know they have like 8 teams in the top 20 before it's all said and done.
I mean, I would, if Ole Miss was getting hype, I would maybe say them, but they're not. They're not because
they're expected to be good.
Lane Kiffin's getting hype, but not Ole Miss.
Like A&M's the one getting hype. Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah,
that's just common.
Yeah, I would say it's A&M.
ACC.
Well, let me think about it for a second. Right. I wish I had some internet to at least pull up the names.
The SEC.
Yeah, I just need something to look at to keep my mind focused.
Of the teams that are getting hype, it'd be Alabama, Georgia, A&M, and.
I mean, Tennessee's getting a lot of hype.
Yeah, they are getting a little bit.
Kentucky's
getting a lot of hype.
Yeah.
Arkansas's getting a little bit. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of in that second tier. I say, I'll go. Gosh, I don't know, man. I feel like there's a couple good candidates, but I'll say Kentucky. I just saw a whole lot's being made about Will Levis and this NFL prospects and all that, and I think Stoops is a great coach, and they should be solid. But man, I don't know. I don't feel like the team's getting hyped though. That's the problem.
That's right.
I'll go A&M. What the hell? I'll go A&M.
Well, it seemed like that would be obvious. And by the way, if they answer the bell, good for them.
Yeah.
It's good for them. Now, Big 12. Could it be Baylor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they have every single, not every single hard game, but every place that they play on the road is hard to play, and places that they have not historically had success. West Virginia,
Oklahoma, they've won there once.
Look, they haven't played in Lubbock all that much lately because they were playing that game at Jerry World. But go back before that game, there's a reason that when they said, let's play that game at AT&T Stadium, Ian McCall said, yes, let's do that.
Well, 2 years ago, they absolutely threw up on themselves in the second half and lost that game in that's when they died. That's when that team they were officially in the morgue because that was a brutal loss.
It was
What loss?
The loss at Texas Tech and Lubbock when they just led the game.
20.
And
That's still not the worst Texas Tech loss I've seen Baylor have lately. That would be 2016 and that just absolute no-show at AT&T when the coaches were halfway out the door and you had the wife of an assistant coach talking about how they were already talking about other jobs.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
By then, that season.
The wheels were off.
That
was
shipped.
Yeah.
ACC.
Let's see who's getting hype.
Clemson and NC State really are the team in Miami. I would say Miami has a good chance not to live up to that hype because even though they've gotten a lot of transfers, Mario Cristobal has not done quite through the transfer portal what Lincoln Riley has done at USC, and those are two schools very similar in nature in what they're doing right now. I would say Miami's. It's going to be it's going to be hard for them to live up to the hype, and Clemson could come back down to earth, but I just don't feel like that's a team that's going to be 2 years in a row.
What's their highest level non-conference game this year? Don't they have somebody right off the top?
Miami is
Clemson.
Clemson.
I could have looked at the internet. I didn't know if you guys had that off the top.
Clemson's.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Best non-conference game this year is
Oregon.
Louisiana Tech.
All right, then okay. I was seeing.
What I was going to say
they played Notre Dame in the middle of the year, but
in the middle of the year. Okay, so what I was going to say is, maybe there is a bit of a quarterback issue you have to parse through. Maybe DJ is not the guy, but I can't believe that if he's not the guy, that Klubnik's not either. So I think they're going to find their quarterback one way or the other and be fine. So I think Clemson will be okay. But yeah, I think Miami just because there's not really a lot of other good candidates in the ACC, quite frankly. I mean, NC State's sort of like the outlier that we never really talk about. And so it would, I think, be easy to say them just because they're not necessarily typically in this position of being overhyped. But with Miami, I do think there's almost this feeling of like the U is back already. And it's like, let's give it a little bit of time and not that the fans believe that like they're going to be competing for titles right away, but it kind of does feel like that almost in a sense that everybody gets scared because we're going to be back. And now we got our guy head coach who's from here and all that. And so I'm not buying that just yet.
The article that David M. Hale, we mentioned it earlier this week. There was a category. We're back. And then kind of it's Miami and Texas. And I think there was another school,
USC,
maybe Tennessee,
yeah,
and maybe USC. Yeah. So those are some of the three that have just go do it. It's not that they've said that. It's that media or whoever. Wet blanket. It's been good today. He's normally a little bit of annoying with me. The Cowboys haven't. Oklahoma State had a losing season since Gundy's 2005 head coaching debut. They've won 10 games or more 7 times.
Yeah, they've been incredibly consistent. I think that just what's missing is, getting over the top on a little bit more of a frequent occasion. And man, they were knocking on that door last year. So yeah, I think if anybody wants to roll with Oklahoma State, I'm not going to talk them down from that because yeah, there are questions, defensively when you have a coaching change and you have somebody who was good enough that Ohio State wanted them, but I know Derek Mason's a pro and vet. He's a good DC as well. So yeah, I think Oklahoma State's got a lot of reasons to be excited about this upcoming year. And again, if you were to pick them to win the Big 12, I wouldn't argue with you very much. No.
All right. From Purple Haze, K-State making a run this year. Cousins Corner, there's a chance Oklahoma doesn't live up. Seeing as if they are transitioning to a new staff with a different culture.
I think there's a chance Baylor doesn't. I think there's a chance that Texas doesn't. I think there's a chance that Oklahoma doesn't. I think that Oklahoma State's maybe not going to be like the conference champ, but they should still be very good. So I think they'd fall too far off regardless. I think Oklahoma State will be like in the proper vicinity. But I feel like with Texas, it's like, there's expectations, man. This is Bijan's last year, probably. This is Worthy's next to last, probably. This is Ewer's debut. I mean, there's some expectations there. So you just came off not making a bowl game. Where's that going to fall? Is it going to fall in competing for a title or being more like last year? So there's kind of a lot of room there. Oklahoma, I've said it a million times now. Like, I believe in their talent. I believe in their coaches. I believe in their tradition and all those things. But you know, still a lot of change to absorb, and
they have had
how much
quarterback play.
I mean, as good as you can be for like 20 years. And so, I mean, just, at some point, logically, there's going to be a year where they're not 10-2. So if there was going to be a year like that, it feels like it would be this year that they'd be 9-3 or something along those lines. And Baylor, I've explained it a million times why. They have a lot of question marks. They have a lot of answers, but that was a really special year last year, and they got a lot of road games.
Jason White